Good evening, Gabby.
Good evening, TC, and welcome all to our weekly podcast, Terry Curran's The Curran View, with the Idler of Hillsborough, Mr. Terry Curran. And if you're listening free to the first half on either Acast or Spotify, you can follow the links on our socials and access the full podcast via either Apple or become a Patreon, all the w's.patreon.com/SRBMedia, or follow the podcast on Twitter at Curran View or on Facebook, The Curran View, or join the conversation in the group, which has over 3,000.2 members now, TC. So thanks very much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. Steady away, mate.
Yes, no, well, I'm not steady away today. I've been running about today.
I know you have.
To dentist and what have you, and I was obviously at the funeral yesterday.
And you've cooked a lamb meal as well tonight, haven't you?
Yes, I've done a shoulder of lamb tonight for me and Jock. So I've enjoyed that.
There are no limits, TC, to your abilities and capabilities. There are no limits to a lot of the players this weekend. What have you sourced for the magic moment, son?
I have no fear. So whatever I do, I have no fear.
Absolutely.
You either do it well or you fail. One or the other.
Yeah.
There's no in between for me. What have I sourced? Well, again, as usual, there's that many that you could pick from. But I've gone for 3 this week, Gabby.
Yeah.
I've gone for 3. The Chelsea goalkeeper put in a marvellous performance against
didn't he
Curran.
just? Yeah, he did.
Because he's had a lot of stick.
Yes.
So, pleased for him, because I quite like him. There has been mistakes in him, but, and if you're going to win major trophies, I've always told you, you've got to have a good goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Mount's free kick.
Yeah.
Goal. So, that, and then, how would you pronounce it? Is it Eduardo at Crystal Palace, the old red kick? I don't know if you saw it, but...
Yeah, Edward.
Unbelievable, but it'd be a great goal.
The fella that used to play for Celtic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A magnificent pass to
Yes. I thought Crystal
Wilfred.
Palace had played quite well in patches in that game.
Well, I'm just trying to find a space to do the podcast. I've just gone downstairs, TC, and the cat, the rabid kitten, is jumping all around the furniture and has dive-bombed onto the curtains. So I'm going to find myself in Tom's vacant room because he's on night. Yeah, Palace. Actually, Palace play is one of my magic moments. I actually really enjoy watching Crystal Palace play. I like Elise, I like Eze. I think Edward is a good player, and Wilfred Zaha, I think he's in the form of his life. I think the kid is absolutely fantastic, and I thought last night, especially second half, he was tremendous.
If he added goals to his game,
he has this season, hasn't he?
He gets into some great positions.
Yeah, he does.
He'd be. He's a top player. Don't get me wrong. I like him. I do like him.
Yeah.
He's got everything. Pace. He's not scared. If people catch him, he'll get back up. He'll have a go. But he just lacks that little bit of finishing touch.
Yeah.
At the highest level. When I say at the highest level, but he is a great player. Make no mistake, he's a great player.
Do you know what I would do if I was coaching Wilfred Zaha? I'd say be more composed in front of goal. You don't have to break the back of the net. Just pace and place. What you've always said, Jimmy Greaves, pace and place. Great goal scorers have that composure in the box, and it's pace and place. He tries to smash it, doesn't he?
All my strikers, if I was a football manager, I'd be doing 20 balls after training.
Mm.
Just pace and place, left foot, right foot, just going in, take your time with it, don't blast it, when you're further back, you've got to put more pace, you put more power into it.
Yep.
When you're 30 or 40, 35 yards out. I just think he makes the wrong decisions at the wrong time.
Yeah, he does.
In front of the goals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He'll shoot when I think he should have laid it.
Mm.
And then when he instead of laying it, he should be shooting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But I do like him. And in that game, the ball, the great ball, but both 2 goals were great crossers,
Yeah, they were. Yeah,
to
absolutely.
pick players out.
Yeah.
And there's no anybody can do when you've got regardless what any expert tells me on football. If that ball is perfect, it has nothing to do with people not being picked up. If you look at Ireland, his movement in the box, Shearer was saying, all these great players, the movement in the box. I mean, I think Ireland's a better player than Shearer because technically he's got more technical ability than him.
Yeah.
But the players what score goals, you'll see them, they're always pulling off. So they've met space for themselves.
Of course they do. And it's having that player that can find
and that's why they don't become managers, because they don't see what problem is when they're defending and how to put it right when you're attacking.
Absolutely. I remember doing the interview with Sniffer, Alan Clark, and he was telling me when he played for Fulham with the great Johnny Haynes, and Johnny used to say, "You make the run, son, I'll find you." And I was talking to, in fact, we've just recorded Book Corner Part 9 with Andy, and our author of the month was Colin Abbott, and Colin was talking to David Platt, amongst others, for his new 80s Aston Villa book. And he was talking about the game against Inter Milan when he scored the second goal for Villa. Kent Nielsen scored the first one. He said the ball was put up to Cascarino, and he said, I know that Cascarino wouldn't find me with his head, but he'd find Sid. Sid used to say, wherever you are on the pitch, I'll find you. And he said, what a player. Left foot, right foot, precision passing. I was in, bang, 2-0. And, football is a simple game. When it's played at its finest, Manchester City do that. Pass and move. Spurs done it. Ipswich used to do it years ago. All the great teams. Pass and move, pass and move. It ain't difficult. You need good pass and good movement.
Gabby, you'll hear it. Well, I didn't make me run because he didn't pass the ball.
Yeah.
No, make the run, but
Absolutely.
don't get offside.
Absolutely.
And the quality players will find you.
Absolutely.
100%. Whether they find it into space where you can run onto, or whether they find you, whether it's perfect for you, you take it in your stride.
Yeah.
So good players, the good midfield players, will always find you. And it's having that understanding. And I'll tell you what happens. I mean, midfield players will look at some of the strikers and think, well, he'll not control it. That's sometimes why they don't play that ball early. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And Bakuna's goal for Birmingham City, I thought it was a tremendous strike from outside the box.
they've on a good run, your team?
Yeah, at Hull City. We're going to be talking about Hull and the goalposts a little bit later on.
By the way, I told Jock and my brother David, I said, these are a rate price, 94 these, Friday. Yeah. Was it Friday? Yeah, Friday night.
We played Hull City on
Sunday.
Sunday at 3 o'clock.
I know he went Saturday.
No.
Sunday. 94 they were.
Birmingham are a decent price at the moment. John Eustace has done a really good job, and I've always maintained this. If you get a good manager, then you'll see the fruits of his labours. When you have a poor manager, you just keep ratting around the same old holes, and it just doesn't work. You're putting square pegs in them, and he's really done a tremendous job. On a budget, he hasn't had a lot of money, but he's been able to bring in players. He's identified the areas that he needs strengthening, and he's done a tremendous job. Birmingham City are a team to watch this season because they've got a good manager. A forward to watch TC this season, Ivan Toney. And I know that you was watching Peppa Pig at the time that I was watching Brentford, but what a sublime goal! Because I did comment, and Janet just posted me the picture of you. But I think you've seen it since. But since that goal, he's took some awful abuse from idiots on social media. It's about time.
Do you know what I'd like to say about this?
Yeah, go on.
You know, people go on about these idiots on social media.
Yeah.
How do we know they're not bots?
Well, I mean, we don't. But
listen, what they're talking about, clubs now are being fined for controlling the fans. How can you control Man United fans who are going to watch a Liverpool game?
No, you can't. Don't know, absolutely, no, you don't.
How do we know these are not bots on that? And listen, you're always going to get idiots, and if we know the idiots are, stop them going into any mind football, cricket, anywhere.
But this particular scumbag that did it has got previous. I
Well,
believe
why is he on? Why is he on Facebook or Twitter?
exactly,
Right?
absolutely spot on.
And people won't post factual things get banned off it.
I know they do. It's quite ridiculous. I've always said this. If Twitter, Facebook, social media want to block your account, 100% they can. And
They
this
block
is,
me.
of
They block
course,
me for
of course they
no
do.
racist, no swearing, nothing.
No, no,
Only
no.
posting factual
Exactly.
things.
This was racist and this was swearing. He's got previous for it. I'm amazed that he's still got a social media account. And these clowns that keep doing that, just block them all. Facebook, Meta
Well,
now that owns them all, they've got
I
the
mean,
ability to stop
I
them.
do blame players and all, because if anybody gives me any abuse,
Yeah,
I just block them.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
That's the end of the story. I
Yeah.
don't hear from them.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, we've all had that because as soon as you open your mouth, you put posts up, someone don't like it, and somebody can put abusive comments to you. I've had it, you've had it, and I just
Yeah,
block them. But
exactly.
it is a sad indictment of society that some scumbag, and I don't even think he was a fan of the team that they were playing against. It just beggars belief that some idiots, probably,
I mean, I used to get
drink
some right
influenced.
abuse when I was playing, Gabby.
Yeah, I
But
know
you
you
know,
did.
when I
Yeah,
went in bar afterwards,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they were great. They said, you know, we said some bad things about you, but you know, we're only trying to put you off.
Yeah.
You know, but everything gets thrown out of proportion. But there is idiots about.
Yeah, there is. Sadly, there is, and I did post. I retweeted it and shared it, etc. And I did post up. It's a shame that his dad didn't wear a condom, but there you go. That's another matter, isn't it? Ailes
I
Owens.
wouldn't even get involved with them, Gabby.
No, I know.
That type of person, I would block if I saw something like that,
Yeah.
because you don't know if it's a bot or not half
No.
the time. So if I saw a remark like that, I just go on. Like it's these adverts. What I
Yeah.
do with these adverts, I go on and I block the adverts because I don't want to keep seeing them.
No, absolutely too. But Ailes Owens crowd, when they scored a last minute winning penalty the weekend, it was absolutely fabulous. Getting some great crowds as well, Ailes Owens. I think there was 1,200 there at the oh blimey, their name escapes me, and it's only down the flipping road where Ailes Owen play football. Oh my God. You know, when a name of somebody or the name of a
I
stadium
know, and
just
it drives me
escapes
right
you.
until you get it.
But I will remember where the Yelts play by the end of the podcast. Don't you worry about that. Book Curran Association with myfootballbooks.com. TC, Andy from myfootballbooks.com always sends us a recommendation. And this week it was Maradona, the Boy, the Rebel, the God by Guillaume Balaguer. And also he sends us an On This Day. And it was 20th of October 1976. A young 15-year-old Diego Maradona became the youngest player in Argentina's Premier Liga. He turned out for Argentina's juniors at the age of 15. I mean, what a play. Let's just indulge in Diego Armando Maradona briefly too. For me, the greatest player of my lifetime. Maradona.
Well, I'll always go with George best, but
yes.
Listen, when you go with him, when you go with Messi, Ronaldo today, Cruyff, Rivellino, Pele, Puskás, they were all great players. But I could watch Maradona. I mean, I'm not like Mr. English because Maradona only did what anybody else would have done in that position, you know. And if you could get away with it, he got away with it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But as a player. Oh, he took some stick. I mean, the one about Ronaldo and Messi, they couldn't take the stick he took.
No.
They could not take it. And to perform like he performed, unbelievable. Yeah, and taking drugs.
Yeah.
You know, cocaine and that type of thing. That's got to affect your game, you know.
Yeah, I must admit, the strongest drug I've ever took has been a Nurofen. So I can't even comment on stuff like that, but I'm sure it must do. In terms of the stick that he took, oh, absolutely. Football was a very, very different game back when Maradona
He's got
played.
everything, hasn't he? Though?
No,
He's got everything.
I just think
Pace,
he was the
strength,
greatest ever,
ability. What is he? 5'5", 5'6",
something
five
like
foot.
that.
You know,
I mean, there was
pace, power, and the technique. I mean, he talk about anybody could make a ball talk. He could.
100%. I remember I guess the goal really that summed up Diego Maradona for me was the goal that he scored against Belgium in the '86 World Cup finals. Can't remember if it was a quarter final or semi final game now. I mean, it was a long time ago. But he
Yeah,
scored a goal and he was almost like off balance when he shot. And anybody else would have fallen over. But it
yeah.
was almost as though Maradona thought, I can't fall over because it spoils my goal. And he kept his feet and he wheeled away and just punched the air as he did. I just sort of, and when he first come and played against England at Wembley in 1980, he went on an amazing run, similar to the goal he scored against England in '86. He'd done it 6 years earlier at Wembley, and unfortunately for Maradona, just went the other side of the post at Wembley, so we've
Yeah.
never really seen it again. But if you go onto YouTube and you look at that game, that run on is on there, and it was fantastic. And Diego Maradona was just, it was
When
just a
you
breath of fresh air.
when you go on about that goal, yeah, unbelievable because he is off balance.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the goals, they're absolutely worldy goals, world class goals. Well, I'm looking for a word to describe them.
I think out of this world.
Other people, couldn't have done it. Couldn't have done it.
I mean, I've noticed
Under
it.
that pressure. I mean, today's a bit different, because they're playing on perfect pitches.
Yeah.
They're playing on perfect pitches. No physical. I mean, we're talking about physical challenge, not challenges. Today they get a challenge.
You look at some of them were assaults too. I mean, you played in them days. They were
Well,
physical assaults. They wasn't challenges.
listen, everywhere I go, if I'm with kids, people say, "Why your dad took some stick," but he did take some stick. That Maradona,
Oh
he
Christ!
did. They took him out waist high.
Yeah,
Unbelievable,
yeah.
unbelievable.
But
I can remember Kenny Swain putting his hand behind me, over under my neck to pull me, choke me like. You know what I mean?
Kenny
I've had
Clement, Kenny
some
Clement.
great bad tackles myself, but Maradona took some I've never seen before.
It was Kenny Clement, wasn't it, that done that? Not Kenny
Yeah,
Swain. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so Diego Maradona, The Boy, the Rebel, the God by Guillaume Balaguer. And there's lots of Maradona books and videos, etc. And I'm sure that everybody has heard of Diego Maradona, even the young kids, although some of them might not have seen him play live. And there's been a lot of recently in the press about we're going to have first sightings of aliens. We're going to be introduced to aliens. I was introduced to an alien in 1980. His name was Maradona because
yeah.
he was from another
Another
planet.
planet,
Absolutely.
without a question of a doubt. That's the only listen. There ain't such thing as aliens because there were what it is. It is these scientists what put things out there.
Yeah.
Because they can make anything, can't they?
Yeah.
Make things look like it. I don't know if you believe in them, but if there were aliens, they'd be in touch with us and we'd be in touch with them.
And yeah, we were in touch with Diego Maradona, and what a player, and what a sad miss to humanity, to football, and to society.
And that was suspicious, his death.
Absolutely, I think there's a lot of suspicious things that we have absolutely no idea, and defenders had absolutely no idea how to stop him. A wonderful book I want to talk briefly about: Blood on the Crossbar, The Dictatorship World Cup by Reese Richards. And it's a book about the 1978 World Cup, how Argentina got it, and it was the most politicised World Cup ever. It was the junta who was involved at the time when they had the World Cup. I think they took control in 1976, the year that Maradona started playing. But I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it seemed regular and commonplace that military regimes were running countries like Argentina, like Brazil, like Chile. It happened a lot out there in South America, and beforehand, the state of Argentina was was unbelievable. It was absolute chaos. Inflation was running at
That's
a
what you get when you get these, dictatorships, socialism, communism.
yeah.
That's what you get.
Mm.
They're all good about capitalism. Let's get off for politics, but they're all good about capitalism. Well, socialism and communism. Look at the houses and mansions these lot live in.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll get more billionaires
They've
in
got private they've
communist
got
places.
private
That
jets,
yeah,
big houses, big mansions.
yeah.
It's all crap anyway.
Absolutely, TC. But it was a brilliant World Cup, wasn't it? The
Oh yes,
1978, the ticker tape, the Ozzy Ardiles, and
brilliant, absolutely. I told you about
yeah, Kempes and Luque,
Kempes
and
and Luke Gay. I played and Kempes. That's for my autograph when we played against them.
yeah, yeah. And while that World Cup was on, there was people being tortured not
Yes,
far away from the ground, and they said they could hear the roar of the crowd from the torture chambers. And this was like 1978, but away from the political side. It looks as though it's going to be a great read. The World Cup was a fantastic World Cup for me. I love the opening scenes on ITV. They did, and they had all the like the kid that flicked the ball over the back of the net. And I remember, you can close your eyes now and you can see the ticker tape coming down
yeah,
from the
yeah,
1978 World
yeah.
Cup final in Buenos Aires,
Was that
Holland.
was it the midfield player centre back Rudy Cobalt had a shot like I don't know what. Scored a
Um,
magnificent free kick. Strike from about 55 yards, 40 yards out.
well, it used to be Harry Hahn had a
And
brilliant
Ariane.
because he was a midfield player
Yeah,
and they
Ariane. That's
brought
the
him
one.
back and played centre half, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think he played in both 74 and 78. But the Dutch, one of the greatest teams not to win a World Cup. And while I'm
We've all
talking,
seen great teams, but I would advise any young player, any young footballer,
yeah,
and any young man what loves football, just type in 1970 World Cup final, Italy and Brazil, and then tell me about how good football is today compared to on bad pictures.
yeah, I mean, I've always said this. I don't think football is better today. Football was better back then. I think you got, again, it's difficult to compare
More
because,
technical ability, I
yeah,
think, back then.
yeah, it's different eras and so on and what have you. But there's a wonderful book by Aidan Williams, who's part of these football times, called The Neely Men, and it goes back to the World Cups where the teams didn't win it. So it starts off chapter
Holland,
one. Yeah, it starts off chapter one. Argentina 1930, Austria 1934, Brazil 50, Hungary 54, and it goes through, and Holland in 74 and 78. And it goes through all the World Cups and looks at the Neely men, the teams that didn't win the World Cup. So it looks a tremendous read. And when we do look at the greatest teams that didn't win the World Cup, Holland 74 and 78 are always up there, and Brazil in 82 because they were in our lifetime, T. But before that, the great Wunderbar team of Austria were another team, and are largely forgotten. And there's a great book about the generation of the Wonder Team, the rise and fall of Austrian's Wonder Team by Joe Araf. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about that because I've got a strange but true later on, and it's a close encounter type of strange but true, but nevertheless fantastic. And third in the trilogy, we always have three, is the current book that I'm reading, Alchemy by Christopher Hull. It's the story of Brian Clough and Peter Taylor at Hartlepool's United. A tremendous
yeah, I've
read.
seen that advertised. It must be on Facebook. It must be on
Yeah,
Twitter.
it's a great reader. I didn't realise that the 1962 when Brian done his cruciate there against Bury,
Very,
John
yeah.
John McGovern, was in the crowd watching it.
I was. I went to watch Barnsley play Hartlepool.
Okay.
And I stood aside the dugout where they come out now, where this guy's in the middle of the pitch. and it was like a downhill. That was always a good pitch. And I remember saying to Brian Clough, sit down and shut up. I was about 10.
Did he say many?
And then I finish up. You know, we're playing for it.
Many years after, didn't he say, I remember you. You were a lippy 10-year-old that told me to sit down and shut up. But it goes through Hartlepool and the development of the ports and the shipyards, etc. And it is a fascinating read. And George Hardwick was the manager at Sunderland, and gave Brian the job of managing the youth team. He done very well when he was managing the youth team. He got Colin Todd there, John O'Ware amongst others, and unfortunately then Hardwick got sacked, and Clough's time at Sunderland finished. But the boys were saying in the book that Clough changed everything as the youth team manager. You know, forget about running and doing all this fitness work. He introduced the ball, and it was training that they'd never seen there at Sunderland before. But
he loved it. He always said, I was there for 3 years under it. You know, that is what you need to control.
Yeah.
You give that away, you've got a chance of losing the game.
Yeah.
That's the football. Look after it.
Absolutely. And it's not difficult, is it? That is the controlling piece of equipment, if you like, in a game of football. It's the football. If you have that, if you're in possession of that, it don't matter who.
If you can master that,
master
it, control it,
absolutely,
and aware what's around you, you'll not lose many games.
But it doesn't matter who you're playing. If you have that ball, they can't score a goal against you. Yeah, I mean, it really is that simple. And if you put that ball in the back of their net more times than they stick it in yours, you win the game of football. So, Cloughie was a man, a man that kept football simple. And in its simplest form, I think football is the beautiful game. Topics of the week, TC. Have you ever heard of sober tense?
No.
You haven't?
Sober tense?
Sober tense. Well, I caught up with Alan Hudson because Huddy phoned me up today and started talking about these sober tense. If you look on his socials, he's done a piece in Hudson's View, and I've loaded it up onto his socials for him. And I recorded a little bit of 10 minutes or so where Alan Hudson indulged in sober tense, his thoughts on sober tense, and a lovely little story about the great Bobby Moore as well.
I'll have to have a look at it. When we've done it, I'll have a look at it.
Well, let's have a listen now. So, Alan, the sober tent, tell me about it. Sober tent or sober tank?
Well, it's I was thinking they were a bit late with this idea. I know it's the Arabs that have done it, but I thought they should have introduced it in the 60s, in the 70s, and had it for the players, really. Because no one ever believed me, Paul, but on my first ever England trip, it was when England used to. The headquarters was Hendon Hall.
Yeah.
And we was at Hendon Hall, and I remember I think it was a trip when Bobby Moore told me I'd be playing, and I didn't play.
Yeah.
And he apologised to me. He said, sorry. I said, it wasn't your fault. He changed his mind at the last minute. It was that trip, I think. And they had played Ireland, and we got back to the hotel this night. We got back there about midnight. Well, after 11, I don't know what time, whatever. I didn't take much notice because I was disappointed with being told I was playing then, not playing then. And I'm not sure if I was rooming with Summerby. It might have been someone like Summerby. And I'm getting ready for bed, and he said, "What are you doing?" So I said, "I'm going to bed." He went, "No, you ain't." He said, "We said the phone will ring in a minute," and it was like 5 to 12, and the phone rang at 5 to 12, and he, all right, yeah, put the phone down. He said, "Come, we're off," and we went down a fire escape. And there was a big red Jag there. And Bobby Moore's sitting in the front of the Jag. And we've all piled in the Jag. there's 5 of us in the Jag, and we're going driving down the North Circular to a party. So this was what it was like. This was my first England trip, and I thought, got so much for Ralph Ramsey, and he's a disciplinarian and all this, and we got to the party, and it was because Bobby at that time had shares in, he had a partnership in pubs with a fella called Jimmy Quill, and it was Jimmy Quill's place, and I remember him ringing the bell of this like pub cum house, and